Welcome back to the place where polish gives way to pulse, where the glossy surface of fame cracks just enough to show the truth simmering underneath. You're tuned into Secrets Behind the Stars, the voice that refuses to accept pretty headlines without asking the complicated questions buried behind them. Tonight, we're not just recounting an incident, we're unpacking a turning point for two names that have defined a modern era of Turkish pop culture. We're stepping into that dangerous borderland where love is tested by gossip, dignity locks horns with doubt, and silence finally breaks because it has to. If you're ready for a story that moves like a scene from a prestige drama but stings with the immediacy of real emotion, you are exactly where you need to be. Hit subscribe like you're shutting down a baseless rumor. If you want to stand shoulder to shoulder with us as we peel back layers, that join button is your all-access pass to deeper dives. And give this a like, it's the fuel that helps us beat the algorithm's apathy. Warm up those comment fingers, because this one is going to ask you to choose your side. The evening was a gala, a celebration of art in its most expensive clothing, but from the first step on the carpet, it was clear there was more in the air than perfume and flash powder. It was anticipation, volatile and undeniable. For months, the names Barış Arduç and Elçin Sangu have been murmured in studio corridors and shouted in the echo chambers of social media. Their connection became a legend told at midnight, believed by many, confirmed by none. With deliberate calm, they kept what mattered locked away from hungry eyes. But public silence, however graceful, creates a vacuum. And vacuums never stay empty. Other voices rush in to fill the space, building a script neither of them wrote. Last night, that borrowed script was set on fire. They arrived not as two stars trying to dodge each other in the same frame, but as a single story unfolding, fingers laced, shoulders aligned, a shared pace that said everything without speaking. Barış and Elçin stepped into the blaze together. And yet, their union wasn't the only plot of the night. Looming overhead was the shadow of a cutting accusation linked to Elçin's past, sharp words from her ex-boyfriend, Barış Burke. The claim wasn't subtle. He implied that what the public had been swooning over was choreography for cameras, not a heartbeat, an arrangement for visibility rather than a relationship built on feeling. In this world, being labeled a PR couple is not just shade, it's a stripping away of humanity. It implies that a smile is a prop, a glance is a cue, and a touch is an agreement, not a spark. That allegation drifted through the feeds like smoke, meant to sting eyes and stain belief. So when the press, emboldened by the scent of drama, angled their microphones while photographers carved rivers of light across the entrance, the inevitable question cut through the glitz. It found its way to Elçin. The warm red carpet smile that had been playing across her lips didn't just fade. It recalibrated into resolve. The shift was definitive, actress into advocate, performer into person. The room's hum altered, as if everyone leaned forward without moving. Her voice, when it came, wasn't loud, but it was made of something unbreakable. She said she wouldn't permit anyone to reduce what they have to a strategy. She spoke about choice, about how her life, her love, and her present are hers to claim, not a storyline for anyone else's benefit. She made it clear that while relationships can evolve or even end, her independence is not up for debate. What they share is real, she insisted, and no one gets to shrink their truth to feed the news cycle. She rejected the exploitation of her name and her emotions with a finality that echoed. And now I turn to you, the secrets behind the stars family. This tension goes beyond red carpets. It hits that nerve so many of us know, the past trying to step into the home you built with the present. How many times has an ex tried to pull you back into the dust of what was, just as you were settling into the light of what is? Is it jealousy? A power play? A need to control the narrative even after the curtain fell? Tell me in the comments, do you believe that Barış spoke from hurt, or do you think timing is everything and strategy is the real driver here? Let's dissect this pattern together. If Elçin's stance was the shield, then Barış's move was the blade. Up until that moment, he had been the quiet constant next to her, eyes alert, posture protective, presence steady. But watching the pressure funnel toward the woman beside him, watching her ask to validate her feelings like they were paperwork, broke his boundary of silence. He stepped forward, not with arrogance, but with a grounded command that pulled focus without theatrics. He took the mic, and the room went taut and still. He said they'd kept their peace for a long time. His voice carried the weight of restraint and the fatigue of being misunderstood. Denying rumors wasn't the point, he explained. The point was where their bond was born. He didn't say they met at a party, or on a set gleaming with stage lights. He spoke of a different landscape. They found each other when life had left them open and fragile. Vulnerable. That word hung there, heavy with all the things that don't get posted. This wasn't chemistry curated for ratings. It was two souls recognizing shelter in each other when the world was loud and lonely. And you don't build a ruse out of vulnerability, you build convenience. He made it clear he has no patience for anyone who treats their connection like a marketing strategy. When a journalist prodded about whether Barack's remarks rattled him, Barış didn't hide in niceties. He said that dragging past relationships in front of the present like a spotlight is unfair. History exists, but it doesn't get to eclipse joy. And then he drew the line. If calling them counterfeit is what passes for normal conversation, then don't expect them to stay quiet. It wasn't a shout. It was a standard, set firmly. The internet responded in seconds, as it always does. Timelines lit up, naming him the partner who doesn't flinch, who stands up and stands near. But the calm strength of that moment didn't happen in a vacuum. Sources speaking to secrets behind the stars tell us this confrontation was years in the making. The campaign to discredit their bond hasn't only played out in public comments, it made its way into private rooms, whispered where it could sting the most. We're told friends urged Barış to speak long before this, warning that silence in the face of serious accusations can be mistaken for weakness. Imagine that split inside him. The instinct to protect what's real by saying nothing versus the need to guard what's real by saying enough. The turning point wasn't bruised pride. It was witnessing the attempt to diminish what Elçin feels. That, more than anything, flipped a switch. Amidst the volleys of questions and the storm of lights, their bodies spoke a second language that the most attentive observers never miss. Hands found each other and stayed. Her fingers tightened around his when the room got sharp. His stance angled toward her like a shield. At one point, barely caught at the edge of a lens, he leaned in and whispered something small enough to belong only to them. The rumor running through backstage was that he said, "Whatever comes, we stand together. Let them see." More potent than any statement, that private reassurance radiated outward. They looked at each other and shared that subtle smile, the kind that says, "We know what we have." That look can't be rehearsed. It appears when the world is loud and the heart is sure. So here's a question for you. In an industry where manufactured romances absolutely exist, how do you separate a staged pairing from the real thing? Is it the eyes when the cameras aren't demanding a reaction? Is it what happens when the questions get invasive? Is it the willingness to take hits publicly and still lean closer instead of away? Tell us. Are you convinced by Barış and Elçin's responses, or is there a sliver of doubt you can't shake? At Secrets Behind the Stars, we live in the complexity, and your take is part of the truth we're mapping. As the evening wound down and they headed toward the exit, one last question cut across the noise. Was this, finally, their acknowledgement? No coyness. No deflection. Barış said they hadn't been hiding, it's just that now everyone could read what was always real for them. It reframed the whole story. Maybe it wasn't secrecy, maybe we were listening to the wrong voices. And then Elçin sealed it with something simple: they're happy, and that's what counts. They walked out not like suspects leaving a crime scene, but like champions stepping out of an arena after a fight they didn't start, but finished. The fallout was instant. The so-called Team Barack contingent started thinning, drowned by a swell of people rallying behind what they saw and heard. The ball sits, for the moment, in Barack Berke's court. Does he escalate, or does the force of that united front quiet the noise? There's an old tabloid saying that the truest test of love is how it holds up in a storm. If that meter matters, then Barış and Elçin haven't just weathered it, they've redrawn the map. They stacked brick after brick against the publicity stunt narrative and left a wall where a rumor used to stand. What we witnessed was rare. A gossip engine stopped not by PR spin, but by controlled, precise honesty. Barış Arduç and Elçin Sangu reminded everyone that while silence can be grace, sometimes speaking is armor. And tonight, especially, their words didn't just defend, they clarified. We'll be watching the next move from the other side, and you know secrets behind the stars will be first to break it down when it lands. If this thoughtful, cinematic unraveling of the night gave you something real, drop a like. It helps more than you think. If you're not subscribed, fix that now, don't hover at the door when you could be in the room. And for those who want to fuel independent, fearless storytelling, the join button is right there. Thank you for lending us your attention. Until the next flame, the next whisper, the next truth, stay curious, stay brave, and remember, secrets behind the stars has you covered. Good night.